Welcome back to Let's Go. Today it has finally arrived. We've got the new Sharkset rear suspension. We've been waiting for this for a very long time and it's been well worth the wait. It's been set back a few times, there's been production issues, but it's here now. Let's get it open, let's get it installed. Okay, so looking at the box, Sharkset do package their boxes very, very nicely with all the Sharkset branding on there and showing you exactly what you're going to get on the inside. This weighs in at around 4.2 kilos for the actual part itself. So let's get it unboxed. I've already gone ahead and undone the sides. So let's break the seal. Right, so let's open her up. Look at that. So Sharkset do package their parts very nicely, all with their own cutouts in foam. Let's take a look at the parts that we're going to get in the box. So all your nuts and bolts, kind of reminds me of a good Meccano set. So this is going to be interesting. A pre-adjusted spring, good quality from what I can see, same as the front set suspension. Wouldn't expect anything different from Sharkset. I believe the medium one is already installed on there, and you've got the hard spring that is hiding just over here. There we go, so that, I believe that's the hard spring. Anything below 100 kilos, anything over 100 kilos. Fender for the rear, also packaged nicely to make sure that's protected. Very hard plastic, and it's got Sharkset in there as well. On this side, let's see what we got here. Some plastic mouldings. It comes with a brake light, that same connector as your official 9W max connector, so you won't have to change anything beyond the fender. And the pièce de résistance. Oh, look at that. That's quite a nice bit of kit. Does need some bolting down. I'll have to figure out which side these go on. Nice big bearings in those as well. Nice touch on the reflector light. Thank you for that. That's a nice thing to have. On this side, we've got the other side of the suspension, and it looks like the hook for when you fold it, so that's nice as well to have. A couple of little slots in these, some added bits in there. I'm really excited to figure out where all these bits go. Sharkset have created a manual as well, which is going to work by today. And what I love about this as well, oh look, some extra parts there. Just, it's one of those that keep giving. Toolbox. So Sharkset do give you the relevant tools. Sometimes they don't give you all the tools that you require, but it's nice that you're going to get tools with your Sharkset. And look at that, an 18mm spanner as well for your wheel nuts. That is, can never have too many spanners. So let's get installing. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and pop the Sharkset together. As you can see here, we've already taken off the motor, the old suspension. I've actually got a video of me trying to put it back to stock. That should be out after this one. So how we're going to start this, we need to make sure that all our bits are laid out and that we are happy that they are good to go. Don't want to lose anything at this point. There are enough bolts on there to lose. As you can see here, I've already done one. The only part we're going to be using from the original stock setup is the plate that goes on the inside of here. To get that off, we do need a Phillips head screwdriver, and we are going to take out the 2 Phillips head screws holding this plate on. So what we're going to do first is go ahead and take off this plate. Take out the 2 screws and this will just pop out. Next bit, what we're going to do is actually add this back on, but with this part here. And you're going to need the C Cap Head M4X6 4 pieces. Pop that back in, add this in with the 2 flat sides going in, like so. And then we're going to screw just on the inside of these here. With these, it is important to hand tighten everything down, and there's no need for thread locker on this part. There we go, we're just going to snug them down like so. Next, what we're going to do is actually add some thread locker to the inside here and grab our M12 nut that's going to go on the inside here. A little bit of thread locker. And that's snug down by hand. A nice 18mm wrench to go alongside it. And we're going to tighten that down. At this point, it's very important that we go to and from each of these. So we're going to snug these down again by hand. And then we're going to go back to the bolt. Snug it down again, make sure it's very tight. There we go, so we're sandwiching everything together. So now we've done the most important part of the scooter and made sure that they're fully secure and tight. Once they're done, we can now move on to actually using the reference guide, which is from Sharkset.com. This is a full guide that Sharkset have put together on the scooter and it's completely free. So essentially we're just going to go through this step by step. It tells you exactly what nut to use and how many pieces. So we've got, for instance, we're going to go on to do the license plate here. And what we need is 2 pieces of the DM5 nuts, which is these ones here. And we need a round head M5 14mm 2 pieces, so 2 of those, which I've gone ahead and got here. And we're just going to go ahead and put these together. So you need this part here and this part here. That's going to sit on the back like that. Doesn't matter which way. On the acrylic pieces that do come with the rear suspension, some people are saying that they're scratched up, but not to worry, there are some pieces of plastic that are covering them up to stop them from getting scratched. As you can see here, there we go, nice and shiny. Put it together, we're just going to pop the bolts through on the back there. And we're going to get the nut and just pop it on. All the tools are provided, and you will need to have the spanner on one side and this on the other side. Hold the spanner still so that the part doesn't move. One license plate holder done. Okay, next we need the right hand side of the suspension unit, and we're going to need this part off of it. So we're going to take that part off in just a moment. We need the plastic fender, 2 cone washers, this tiny little spacer here, which will go just over here, 1 round head M5X14, 1 M5 nut, and 2 M5 18s. Let's go ahead and take this part off of here. Little tip, pop the bolts back on the same thing so you don't lose them and you know exactly where they go. So we're going to grab this part, and it looks like it's going to go that way. And this is going to go on there like that. Next part is to pop everything together. We're going to put the M518 through the cone washer, and we're going to try and use our hands to hold everything together and pop it through the top one there. You got the bottom one on the license plate to go through the bottom there. And then we're going to do the same on this one. You're going to actually need 2 more M5 nuts to secure them on the back there, so we're going to go ahead and pop those together. I'm not going to tighten them down yet. There you go, you can see that we've got the 2 M5 nuts in there. Next we need the M514, an M5 nut, and the spacer. And it looks like the spacer's actually going to go just in the centre there. Right, straight through the centre, and then as you can see there, I've managed to pop the spacer in. Same again, wrench on the back and then tighten it from the front with the Allen key. Maybe go ahead and tighten these down. Right, for this next part we are going to assemble the metal mudguard, and for this we're going to need this piece here, these 2 pieces, these 2 pieces. I've already taken the film off all the front of those. We're going to need some M5 nuts, we're going to need some M5 18s, M5 12s, and the 1 M5 16. We also need the left and right of the suspension unit. The left side will have the hook on it, and the right side is what carries this part here. But what we need to take off is this part here, which is held on with these 3 bolts, and then the same on this one, these 3 bolts. Just to let you know, on here there are 4 bolts for this unit. It's the same on this side, 4 bolts. You will not need to touch those. Those are pre-torqued at the factory and they are Loctited as well. So that's the only thing you do not have to touch, so don't worry about that. Right, we're going to go ahead and take these ones off. There we go. And just so we don't lose these bits, let's pop these back in lightly. Alright, I'm going to pop this unit to the side. And what we need to do now is assemble these onto here and then this underneath as well. So it'll go down like that. I'm going to get the white bit, pop that on there, then the black bit. Just make sure that when you're reading it, it says Sharkset this way, because you don't want it to be that way. It's not going to say Sharkset the correct way. And what we need is to pop the M4X6 in the top there. Now we get that held down. And we're just going to pop a nut on there just to keep it all secure. We don't have to tighten it down yet, just to stop it from going everywhere. We're then going to line this up, so the right hand side is going to go on there, like so. And what we need for this is the M4X18s. I'm going to pop that one in the top there. Hold that down. Oh, sorry, not that one. We're going to pop it in the bottom hole there. And we're going to line that up, because there's slightly different screws on the top there. On the bottom ones here, we're going to go ahead and add our plates, so we can see how it fits together there, just like that. White one in, and then the black one. I'm going to use the same bolts for these. For now, we have the M512 on there, and that's what we're going to add next. So there's two of these, one for each side. So it's going to go through this top one here and come out the bottom there. Let's get these tightened down. With these, you don't want to tighten them too much, because with it being plastic, you don't want to break it. Right, this side is done and it's all tightened up. Let's go ahead and install the other side. Same procedure, pop that in like so, and it's done. Here we are, so fully completed. All the screws are fully tightened. Okay, so the next part we're going to do is the swing arm, which is, I believe, this part here. You're going to need to grab the bag without a label on it, which has all the necessary parts in that you're going to need, and also some Cap Head M4X6s. Once again, we're dealing with something quite fiddly, so we're going to get those up inside there. From the pictures here, it looks like it dips down, so we've got a dip down there. So next what we're going to do is we're going to grab this piece here, the two holes facing down, and then the two nuts that come with it in there. From the pictures it looks like it's got two spaces, so we're going to add the spaces that are in the pack, and then we're going to pop those through the bits that we've just installed, and then the two nuts that come in the pack as well. So once this part is installed, what we're going to do is, because it does move back and forth, we're going to tighten it down, but we're going to tighten it in a place that's going to be nicer for us to be able to get to those little lugs on each side so that we can get the brake light installed. And then we're going to pop the brake cable through the bottom there, and the little lug that's in there we're going to have facing up to pop in the centre there. And now we need to get the 2 screws that come out of the back of the light that give you a Phillips head with it. I'm going to go ahead and screw these down. These are a little bit fiddly. Right, so this might be the way to go. So install those screws into those holes before you put the light in. Like that. And then we're going to put the light cable through, the lug facing up, and I'm going to locate those holes into there and get the screwdriver. There we go. Now it is time to assemble the shock. So we're going to pop that to the side for a moment, and we're going to get the shock absorber, the bottom plate. We need M4X6 screws, M4X8, the bottom shock absorber bushings, and the top shock absorber bushings. We also have these parts here, which I believe they are going to go just there. But I think we should go ahead and maybe assemble those first. So we need the M4X, and once again you've got Sharkset on there, so this is going to angle that way, and I want Sharkset to read like so. So the next thing we're going to do is actually install our shock on the back there. And before we do, this is probably the best time to decide if you want the medium spring or the hard spring. If you're on the medium spring, it's up to 100 kilos. The hard spring is over 100 kilos. So to do this, what we need to do is we're going to leave, actually it's slightly different to the front suspension on the 9-bot. We're going to take off the top here like we did with the previous one. Get it all nice and loose. Bring that all the way down. I'm going to bring the spring up, and then we're going to pull this boot back. In there you do have a nut which we can use an adjustable wrench and latch that onto there. Get one of the Allen keys provided and pop that in the top, and then untwist it. It's going to be a little bit harder because we do put some thread locker in there. I'm going to twist off the top. You've got the base plate here. Make sure that the dome faces towards the spring when you put it back on, and then you can take the spring off and then pop your new spring back in, put your dome back on, and then we're going to tighten it up. Pull the boot down, get the wrench in there, tighten that back on. I'm using an adjustable wrench here, just for ease. I'm just going to get it pretty tight. There we go. And then we're going to push the spring down to the bottom, lift up the thing, and then we're going to twist that back on. When tightening this up, it's probably best to have it just below halfway, so closer to the bottom. but you can adjust this as you wish when you're out there. Next thing is to loosen off 2 of these bolts inside here. This will allow this to then freely move out a little bit so that we can then put in the shock absorber. Right, so we need to install the shock absorber, and to do that we need to put the top bushings and axle bar in, and we're going to go to the second hole back. There we go. So now that's in there, we'll get the bolts. They're already pre-Loctited, so make sure that you do yours. And I'm going to add that in there like so. And it's going to help if you have 2 5mm Allen keys to get this done, because you're going to have to hold one still whilst we do the other. So let's just pop that in. Oh, we're not tying it up yet, because what we need to do is we're going to get the alignment bolt, which will go just there. Let's tighten it up a little bit more. And the alignment bolt's going to go in there, and we're going to use the M614s. Once again, a little bit of thread locker. Yeah, there we go. So you're going to need 2 4mm. One comes in the pack, but you're going to need another one on there as well to tighten that one down. And then 2 5mm to finish off the suspension. There we go. Last thing to do before we install it on the scooter is actually tighten these 2 up inside here, as we needed those to create space. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and install the lower part, and you can't miss it, it's got bottom shock absorber. Right, so we're going to get the this part here, and we're going to face it downwards so the lugs are downwards, and then going to get this part here and feed it through, and then we're going to place a bushing on the inside, feed it through the bottom of the suspension till you get to the other side, get another bushing there as well, ready to go. And then once you get it, feed it through, there we go. And then squeeze them together so that we've got it dead center. Perfect. Once again, we're going to get the same axle bolts, add some Loctite, and then there we go. So at this point, it's going to be helpful to actually have 2 Allen keys, and then we're just going to tighten up one side by holding the other side down with a 5mm, and this should do both of them at the same time. Next part we're going to install is this white bit here, and it's just going to go over the top there. We're going to use M4X6, which are these ones here. Once again, these don't need to be tight, as you're going to ruin the acrylic otherwise. So that's the assembly of the 9bot Max kit. As you can see, there is quite a bit of work to put into it, but it's good fun if you like that sort of thing. What I would say is follow the instructions of this video very carefully. There's been a few times I've had to take things apart, put things back together again. Make sure you take off the plastic covering before you go ahead and install. But let's get this baby fully installed on our scooter. So at this point my camera decided not to record. So at this point we're at the point where we're installing this. So we do need the original bolts that come with the scooter when we have the original fender. These parts here on either side, you can see that I have installed those throughout the process. Do not install those until the end. I've installed mine so that I can show it as one piece before installing it on the scooter. So these will then get bolted onto here at the very last part. So you're going to pop this on, put these on the shafts, and then bolt those together once they're both on. You're then going to pop these on as well. Now you're going to need to pop in the original screws that came with the original fender, which are M685. If you have lost these, you will need to purchase some more. I know a lot of you have upgraded to the cheap suspension that we all had, but I don't chuck anything away. The question I used to get asked a lot was, how do I get this carpet to stay down? You can either glue it down, use double-sided tape, or do what I do and not bother. Your foot will squish it down and it will end up sticking again. Sometimes. With these, we're just going to go back crisscross, make sure they're all tightened down by hand, and then we're going to fully tighten them up. Next, what I'm going to do is attach these up to there. Don't forget to use thread locker on these as well. I'm going to get one in there just to locate it. Right, so both sides are now done up. What we're going to do is just go through and tighten them up. Making sure that they're all very tight. Right, but just before we pop the wheel on, we're actually going to pop some nuts into both sides and we're going to thread lock those. They are the M6X12s. And once again, because it's a major component, we're going to thread lock these. And they sit just in the center there. Make sure that these are tight, but just be careful that you don't go too overboard, because we don't want to be damaging the bearing. So tighten out by hand until it stops, and then just a little bit more, and that should be enough. There we go. Now time to get the wheel on. In the pack you will get two spacers just like this. With the standard 9-bot wheel you will need to use these spacers, so we're going to pop those in either side. If you are using the Fat Max, you will not have to use these spacers. And we're going to make sure the wheel is on the right side, so the cables are on the left. I'm going to slot that just in there. At this point we need the lock tabs, or the lawyer tabs, and this basically just stops your wheel from going anywhere that you don't want it to. Having both those tabs on there will now hold the wheel in place. And then we're going to get our nuts. These are the original nuts that came with the scooter. Get our 18mm that comes with the Sharkset suspension, which is handy, thank you very much. And once again, we're just going to tighten those down and make sure that wheel is not going anywhere. when it's on the ground, we'll torque those down just to make sure. We're finally going to feed the wires through. Just be careful at this stage because we don't want to be breaking anything. So there we go, that's how we install the Sharkset rear suspension. It takes a little bit of work, but once it's done, it looks absolutely fantastic. I would say it's on a difficulty level, probably around a 7 or an 8. The main thing that's going to be the problem is keeping track of all the screws and things like that. So if you are used to IKEA sets or Meccano, this is the perfect project for you. It looks good, and we're going to take it out for a test run. This video is getting a bit too long as it is, and we'll get a proper go on it and see how it holds up compared to the cheap one. But at the moment, it does look great. If you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. It helps me a lot, and consider subscribing. We'll see you in the next one.